Welcome back to the Virtual Firearms Association. I'm Frank, and today we're back in the virtual range, and we're going to jump out of here. I'm going to screen share, and we're going to go over Bill of Rights and exactly what they mean to you. Let's discuss. Before we get started, those gifts are down in the description. Just open up the description down below this video and you're going to find two gifts from us to you. One is free downloadable and printable targets. They're going to save you a bunch of time and money heading to the range. Maybe you're going to an open range, maybe you're going to a private range, doesn't matter. It's going to save you some time and money. Download them, print them out, reuse them as much as you want. Reuse them in your virtual range, right? We highly encourage that. But use them, right? Our gift to you. Additionally, if you do want to take your shooting to the next level, we have a free downloadable and loginable, or whatever that term would be, pistol course, free pistol course. I mean, this is $100 value we're giving to you. There's no catches here or anything like that. You just go sign up for it. You don't even have to enter any credit card information. It's a free gift. And it's going to walk you through all the basics, some stuff that you might already know, some stuff that you might be new to firearms for, and it's going to take you through some marksmanship components too, and a whole bunch of other aspects that are really going to change. I shouldn't say change, that are really going to evolve your education and grow your knowledge. And use it if you want to. Don't use it if you don't think it applies to you. That is the best part about educating ourselves, is just gaining that knowledge. We're going to do that right now, but those gifts are down in description. So let me jump over. Today, we're going to gain a little bit more knowledge. We're going to go over the Bill of Rights. What is the Bill of Rights? If you're asking that, you definitely need to know. It's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Let's jump in. I'll share my screen with you right now and we'll go over it. Okay, here we go. I hope you can see my screen really well. I want to make something known right here. Notice that this is from nationalarchives.gov. This is a government site, an official government site we're getting ready to click into. But I want to read this first. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. It spells out Americans' rights in relation to their government. Americans' rights in relation to their government. It guarantees civil rights and liberties to the individual, like freedom of speech, press, and religion, which is our First Amendment. But let's jump in and see exactly what it says. Remember, this is from National Archives. All right, now I'm not going to read all these verbatim, but I'm definitely going to hit some of the high points. So here's your First Amendment. The First Amendment provides several rights protection to express ideas through speech and the press, to assemble or gather with a group to protest or for other reasons, and to ask the government to fix problems. It also protects the right to religious beliefs and practices. It prevents the government from creating or favoring a religion. All this are individual rights in the First Amendment. And why are they so important? Is because this is how you address grievances with your government. This is how we are a nation of laws. However, those laws can be made unconstitutional, which we see a lot in the Second Amendment. There's no amendment here in the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, that is attacked so much as the Second Amendment. But we'll get to that here next. Just keep this in mind. Everything that's in here, speech, press, assembly, protest, religion, all that's covered under the First Amendment. And knowing that allows you to walk in and have a civil conversation with someone, and maybe it is even the government, and you say, hey, whoa, this is not trying to escalate a situation. I'm just doing these as protected under my First Amendment right as an American. Okay. Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms, right? Now, once again, this is not inclusive. It says a whole lot more in the Second Amendment than this, but it protects the right to keep and bear arms. This is this main aspect of it. So it also goes on to say it shall not be infringed, right? And I'll actually pull that up here because I'm a little disheartened. This is a government site that doesn't actually expand upon the entire amendment here. But the Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. However, it goes on to say that this right should not be infringed because this right protects this right and all these rights and the Constitution as a whole. We'll come back to this. All right, Third Amendment prevents the government from forcing homeowners to allow soldiers to use their home. Before the Revolutionary War, laws gave British soldiers the right to take over private homes. Now, like I said, I'm going to do this, but I'm also going to show you what these all say verbatim. Fourth Amendment bars the government from unreasonable search and seizure of an individual or their property. So as a former law enforcement officer and as a current law enforcement instructor, I teach this all the time. You can't arrest someone without a warrant unless there's a warrant exception. And there's warrant exceptions. I'm not going to get into the legal aspect about it. But as a law enforcement officer, I can't search you or your vehicle without either an exception, a warrant exception, or a warrant. So now vehicles, there's a bunch of different stuff that go into this, and you really got to dive into the nuance of the law, of federal law and state law. Just know that you have a Fourth Amendment right that protects you from unreasonable search and seizures of an individual or their private property. A lot of case law out there. Case law is laws determined by judges. So keep that in mind, or by courts. Fifth Amendment provides several protections for people accused of crimes. It states that serious criminal charges must be started by a grand jury. A person cannot be tried twice for the same offense, which is double jeopardy, or have property taken away without just compensation, which means you can't take something from me and not pay me for it, right? Is you can't come in and say, hey, we're gonna come in and take this land for, eminent domain and not pay me for it. It's just something that can't be done. People have a right against self-incrimination. You often hear people say in the movies, I plead the fifth, which means I won't self-incriminate, and cannot be imprisoned without due process of law, fair procedures, and trials. Due process of law is all of it. It starts all the way from out on the street, all the way through the legal system. All right, the Sixth Amendment provides additional protection to people accused of crimes, such as the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury in criminal cases, and to be informed of criminal charges. Witnesses must face the accused, and the accused is allowed his or her own witnesses and to be represented by a lawyer. So they can't deny you a lawyer, right? Now, oftentimes we're seeing a lot of these rights eroded. I'm seeing people say, hey, this is a bench trial and a jury doesn't need to be brought in for this. And that goes against the Constitution. And we found ways that, it just ties up the court system. Well, then maybe we should look at the way the court system operates, or what we're charging people with in like petty infractions and things like that. As a law enforcement instructor, I highly encourage my law enforcement officers to make sure that they are understanding the spirit of the law, right? The goal here is to get bad people off the street, not to bother some poor single mother or single father with a petty blinker ticket or brake light ticket. It's not the spirit of the law. So anyway, you're entitled to a speedy and public trial. And that's this word speedy right here. That's crazy too, because I know people that go years without their trial. It's ridiculous. Seventh Amendment extends the right to a jury trial in federal civil cases, right? So once again, we're going to unpack these a little bit more. The Eighth Amendment bars excessive bail and fines and cruel and unusual punishment. So they can't torture you, right? They can't starve you. They can't set a bail and a fine so high that it can't be paid by you. The Ninth Amendment states that listing specific rights in the Constitution does not mean that people do not have other rights that have not been spelled out, right? Kind of general clause, right? Ninth Amendment. 10th Amendment says that federal government only has the power to delegate it in the Constitution. If it isn't listed, it belongs to the states or the people. I see this all the time where states say, this belongs to the state. Well, what about the second half where it belongs to the people? Things like that we have to keep in consideration, right? That's why that whole Brewing case, up in New York with the Second Amendment, that's why now it's almost universal across the United States, with the exception of some states trying to override the Constitution and the Supreme Court, where people as a whole have the right to conceal carry. You can't put these limitations on them and these restrictions. But that's that one. Let's go over to the Second Amendment and we'll discuss from there. Okay, here we go. So we had to jump on Cornell law just due to the fact that the Congress.gov wasn't opening up. But here we go. Second Amendment. The Second Amendment of the United States reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to security of a free state, comma, additionally, just like the other one with the First Amendment, you know, freedom of speech, comma, freedom of press, comma, freedom of religion, comma, and so on, right? Freedom to assemble. Those are all individual rights packed into the First Amendment, same as the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed, right? Which is saying all of this shall not be infringed. We can go on and read all the case law here, but what most people have an issue when it comes to these discussions, and it doesn't matter where you fall in this politically or otherwise. If you are a firearm owner and operator, you need to understand what protects that ability for you to do that. So when you hear this stuff, when you hear these arguments that you're seeing on online these days, you know, oversteps from the ATF, you know, preliminary injunctions, access and control to these other aspects of firearms, there's a shall not be infringed in there. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to get to that political level or anything along those lines. It's just for the sheer fact that what we do is we see the needle moving so far one way that this side accommodates just a little bit, and then they push farther to keep moving the needle. Next thing you know, this side is actually where it started. And that's the ultimate goal. And that's what we've been seeing more and more. So at the end of the day, you don't have to get into a heated debate about something, but you do need to understand how to articulate and describe, you know, in a civil conversation, where you stand and why you stand that way and what it is that allows you to be able to do that. I hope this really helps. This is more of an education session I'm trying to unpack here for people, but just keep that in mind. You know, your first 10 amendments to the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. It's called the Bill of Rights because it's the right of the people. Your Second Amendment falls into that. It's your Second Amendment right there to protect mainly your first and all the other ones, but there's a reason it was put in as number 2. So as always, stay safe. Before I let you go, listen, those gifts are down in the description, downloadable and printable targets, as well as that free online pistol course with that whole marksmanship component. You'll be surprised what you might pull out of there. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.